Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we bring back one-off story-specific characters from 2 seasons ago. Because this week we watched The New World.
Written by Russell T. Davies.
Directed by Bharat Nalluri. I think I pronounced that correctly.
And aired on July 8th, 2011. On its first airing, which was on Starz.
Starz.
Look, when the stars align, you get a 4th season of Torchwood.
Some might say we shouldn't have gotten a 4th season of Torchwood. Some might say we should have stopped at 3. But not us. We're here diving deep into the realm of this season of Torchwood that has no qualms about showing someone sever the nerves between a disembodied head and the rest of the body, just with garden shears.
Yeah. Just violating every known principle of being a doctor, while also simultaneously displaying someone's charred and flayed non-corpse on television.
Yeah, violating the Hippocratic Oath in like 6 different ways at least.
He was so nonchalant about it too. The other doctor, who I'm guessing is going to be sort of a side character, was like, you can't do this. And he's just like, yeah, well, that's a nice opinion of yours, doctor.
Yeah, that's nice of you to think that, but I'm the one holding the garden shears. Yeah. Not actually garden shears, but snip, snip.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Then you get the visceral snipping noise that the sound editing department had to probably sit there for days on end to create. Like, great, thanks.
Yeah, and that's the image. His disembodied head is the image for Miracle Day on the TARDIS wiki.
Well, Wikipedia opts not to include an image, and I'm using Wikipedia because I just don't want to delve deep into the accidental spoilers that are prevalent on the Doctor Who wiki. Trying to remain unspoiled for once here.
Yeah, and, I guess that's something to kind of talk about or touch on here is I don't know anything about this season.
Same. Well, I know a very minor spoiler regarding the CIA and Rex, but it's it's a very minor spoiler.
Yeah, and in fact, there is, having watched Revolution of the Daleks, this episode kind of brings a little mystery into the fold, I think, with Gwen having a daughter, where I believe in Revolution of the Daleks, Jack was or the doctor was I forget who said it, but someone mentioned Gwen's son, I believe. And in this one, she and Reese have a daughter.
Huh. You know what? You're right. So you know what? For once, I will bust open TARDIS.fandom.com.
It's probably just they have a son after this season or something.
Damn. For all of the good things that we have on the TARDIS wiki, they don't have the here we go, children. Yeah, it says son here. And then it says by January 2021, Gwen Cooper had a son. Gwen told Jack Harkness that she fought off a Dalek with his boxing gloves as well as a moped. Note that moped is a link to a page and boxing gloves is a red link, which means that someone on the wiki wants to make a boxing gloves page.
Yeah, that's...
Citation TV Revolution of the Daleks.
That's weird, because, the way Jack said it made it sound like Gwen only had a son. It wasn't give... or whatever. I forget what it was. I guess it was the doctor being give my love to Gwen and her son. Yeah, I think the doctor's
saying it to Jack.
Yeah. You think she would have said, you think she would have included, Gwen's daughter? Or hell, even Reese. Where's Reese in the mix,
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless Reese dies, which would be devastating, for all the crap I've given Reese, if he dies, I'm going to be devastated. It's not off the table. Torchwood just picks off its characters, like they're nothing.
Yeah, sure.
Which is something, it attempts to do here. in this episode if not for that meddling inability to die?
Unless you're Jack.
Yeah.
Unless you're Jack.
Yeah, I can't believe Jack survives this as well. We know that because of Revolution of the Daleks. And it's just like, the setup, if I didn't know that, then the setup would be like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to die by the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen, I guess.
Yeah. So the production of the season I thought was pretty interesting, at least in the fact that like Russell T sat down, came up with the idea, and then did, I guess what Chris Chibnall does with the show now. He basically made a writer's room and told everyone like the overarching plot of the season, what he wanted to get done, and then basically just let writers like pick what episode they wanted to write based on what they thought was going to be like the most interesting for them. So that's interesting. Guess we'll see how that plays out this season. I did notice on the Wikipedia the Torchwood Miracle Day page that the writers do seem to vary quite a bit. Some American writers getting in the mix, some old favorites like John Fay coming back. So
yeah, this was also after Russell T Davies had departed Doctor Who as well. So it's interesting that he also kind of stepped back for this season, because he did write, if I'm remembering correctly, every episode of Children of Earth except for one.
Yeah, or co-wrote.
Yeah.
I think he co-wrote one, and there was one he didn't write at all. This season for Miracle Day, he only writes this first episode, and he co-writes the finale.
Mm-hmm.
So,
when did I'm curious now, when did Series 5 start airing? Let me just look it up.
Late
here.
2011, I want to say.
I think it was late 2011. Oh, it was oh no, it was 2010. I thought it was 2011. It was April 3rd, 2010 is when it started.
Early 2010. Wow, year and a half off. Oops. Whoops.
Yeah, that's weird. I remembered it. I remembered Series 4 as ending in 2010 and then 5 starting in 2011, but I guess that's wrong. For some reason, that's how I had it in my head. Maybe I just wanted 11 on 11 and 10 to end on 10, or something like that.
10 did end on 10 because he aired his final episode on New Year's Day. Oh no, that would have been New Year's Day 2009?
I have no idea.
No, it must have been New Year's 2010.
Yeah, and then they just started the next season like a few months after that, I guess.
Yeah, 1st of January 2010.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, before we started, Keon mentioned that like Children of Earth was an interesting title because it could mean multiple things, and Miracle Day is just like they come out and say in the first 20 minutes, they're like, and we called it Miracle Day. What I found out while looking up some production information was that the name of the season wasn't going to be Miracle Day originally. When Russell T conceived it, the name of the season was actually going to be The New World, which has multiple meanings. Like they go to America, which is, quote, the new world, unquote. Mm-hmm. It's the new world because people stop dying, et cetera, and I'm sure more coming up this season. But then he changed it, and I don't really know why. And they made the title of the first episode The New World instead.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't even have a guess as to why that would be.
I do think The New World is a title in line with Children of Earth, and that it has multiple meanings and you can dissect it for days, but
for Miracle Day.
Maybe Miracle Day is more marketable.
Maybe, yeah.
Which, this being an American co-production, is always a thought, I suppose. Those goddamn Americans and their marketability. I don't know why I'm making it out like only Americans want to market their TV shows.
Well, I mean, as someone who, I don't work in marketing, but I don't know how to describe. Yeah, I kind of work adjacent to marketing, but marketing in general is very different in the UK. The times I've been there, I've seen ads and I was like, oh my God, like that's never like an ad. Ads that get displayed in the UK would never, be displayed here, whether they're print ads or, on television and stuff. It's just like, it's night and day almost, which is weird to me. Then again, people
also,
in the UK read.
Wow. Wow. I was going to say that the like standards of what they can show on television are also different. I mean, this episode's showing us like gore and viscera, and the British one being basically unafraid to show us like pansexual, bisexual, homosexual, non-heterosexual relationships, and that being like, I think 2011 still a little taboo to show on, not taboo necessarily, but uncommon to show on television.
It still
in
is
America.
It still is uncommon. I would imagine
Yeah.
it's uncommon in the UK as well, but maybe not as frowned upon or something.
Yeah, so the different standards of television.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to dig into definitely at the end, is like just the amount of gunplay and like
The
explosions.
good old Pertwee gunplay.
Yeah. But I guess before we get into it, this is probably something I should have looked up, but I didn't even think of it until like 10 minutes ago. Is like, what is Starz? Like, I'm kind of familiar with Starz, but it's like it's a paid channel, right? It's like a
Yeah, it's one of
subscription
those
channel.
premium channels.
Yeah.
It's just one of those premium channels. I think it's owned by Lionsgate. I'm looking now. It's existed since the late 90s. I mean, I don't really know like what they air. They air things like Black Sails, I think, is on Starz. That's the only show I know that's like on Starz. Oh, Outlander is also a Starz series. That's a pretty popular, well-known one. But it's basically just a premium channel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, interesting, I guess.
I think it's like a rival of HBO. HBO started as a premium channel. Now it's like, when you say HBO, I think people more associate it with the streaming service. But HBO used to be a premium channel like Starz. And the premium channels used to be like where you would go to get like more serialized, higher budget television, because since you had to pay for it, you had to pay an additional fee for it. They had bigger budgets to work with.
Right, and HBO definitely, I guess, within the past decade has come to be associated with that like higher quality. Well, but in part, or in almost full, maybe to due to like Game of Thrones and stuff.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, The Wire, Westworld in more recent years. Things like that. So that's Starz for all you Brits who are like, what is Starz? I don't know.
And this was on BBC One in the UK, which I believe Children of Earth was as well. I think Torchwood started on
Yeah.
BBC Three, and then Series 2 was BBC Two, and then 3
They
and 4.
worked their way up the prestige level.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I say it as a joke, but also not as a joke.
Yeah.
Those things that there has to be a word for things that like could be jokes, but also could be serious.
What's the 30-letter German word for that?
So we open on. We open actually in quite a weird place. We open on a news report of a guy who killed a little girl who he also raped. He's a pedophile and a murderer.
Right.
Who's on death row. And they're like, he's going to be executed today. And we watch his execution. They take him to the bed. So this is a lethal injection. It's not like an electric chair. And apparently the news report says that what he said in his defense or whatever when he was on trial was, she should have run quicker, which, yikes.
Yeah, this series definitely, right off the bat, feels like a sort of dark and edgy reboot.
And this guy's name, since it looked based on the ending trailer that he was going to be important, is Oswald Danes.
Right.
He's played by Bill Pullman, who's got quite a big acting career.
Right. I had that same line of thought, is like, while I was watching the episode, I was like, okay, so I'm going to look up Rex Matheson and Esther, whatever her name was. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, and Oswald Danes.
And also Oswald.
Yeah, it is sort of weird. I guess we can talk about this now, how like he's a known rapist, pedophile, and murderer, and he becomes sort of this like celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to become one of those mega pastors,
Yeah.
which, like, you know what? This might be a controversial statement, but I don't think it is. If he does become a mega pastor, he would not be like the worst person to be a mega pastor. Really, let's just say that.
No.
He'd be like in Lee, like he would be basically in good company. Birds of a feather flock together.
I read this book recently. I don't even remember what it was called. It was like, it wasn't that good or memorable. I can't even remember the title or who wrote it, but
Clearly, it wasn't good if you can't remember
there were
the
some
title.
interesting parts about it. It was this post-apocalyptic future that's gone through like environmental disaster, and the main villain is like this mega pastor guy. So I'll put it in the show notes. It's an okay book.
Far Cry 5's villain is like, I don't think he's a mega pastor, but it's like a religious zealot, let's say, to put it nicely.
Well, anyway, he's getting this lethal injection. We could probably, deduce what state this might be just, by looking up ones that have the death penalty through lethal injection. But I didn't bother to do that.
In 2011.
Yeah, in 2011. Anyway, he's getting the lethal injection, and some people are watching, and, he's writhing around on the bed, and looks like he's about to die, but then he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we only find out later that he doesn't. In the scene, he just looks like he's writhing around in pain, and you kind of get the sense that something's gone wrong during this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what yet. Then we cut to, I think, Esther, who's on the phone with Rex. Rex is driving somewhere. Esther's telling him about how... And this was kind of a weird way to set this up, because we don't actually see this email come into the CIA that tells them about Torchwood. It just says the word Torchwood. We get like the result of that, which is Esther calling Rex and being like, hey, we got a weird email telling us about this group called Torchwood.
Right, and Rex is just like, well, what does that have to do with me? Nothing.
While we've been talking, I looked up what states use lethal injection. I'd just like you to know that all 50 of them in 2011 used lethal injection. So
I thought the death penalty was actually illegal in some states.
Well, not all 50. I guess I should say all states, all 36 states, as it seems here, based on this table that used that all 36 states in which capital punishment was legal in 2011 used lethal injection. 8 of them allow electrocution, I should say. 3 lethal gas, 3 hanging, and 2 firing squad. Hold up, hang on, what? 2011.
Yeah.
Oh, there are a lot of contingencies here. New Mexico authorizes lethal injection for inmates whose capital offense occurred prior to July 1st, 2009. Oklahoma authorizes electrocution if lethal injection is held to be unconstitutional, and firing squad if both lethal injection and electrocution are held to be unconstitutional. All right, Oklahoma. All right.
Yeah, the death penalty is barely used in the U.S. Just for anyone listening. Yeah, I guess anymore.
I mean, it was a big thing when Trump executed people, because it was the first execution in like years.
Yeah, it was like that period, I guess, was where it sort of came back. Not in like, full swing, I don't think, but it was like it sort of came back, and then, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so Esther's telling Rex about, well, she's not really telling him about anything because they don't know anything about Torchwood. They're just like, we got this thing about Torchwood. And Rex is like, what's Torchwood? Shoot, car accident. Shoot, pole through my chest. I'm going to die. Oh, no. And Esther's like, stop being a little...
Wow. Walk it off.
Walk it off, man. Walk it off. Just a flesh wound.
As all this is happening, the CIA is the victim of a cyber crime.
Yeah, because the email and every digital footprint of Torchwood gets erased from
everything. Yeah.
The CIA's computers,
Yeah,
basically.
so the CIA is actually the victim here of a phishing attack, right? They opened a sketchy email, and there you go.
For some reason, that reminds me of this was like 2 months ago. I guess almost three since this will go out. We're recording this January 30th. This will go out early February. In like early December, when GoDaddy sent all their employees an email that was like, "Congrats, we're giving you all holiday bonuses instead of like having a holiday party this year because of COVID. Click this link to like sign up for your bonus." And then they revealed that it was an internal like test to see who would be susceptible to phishing
Yeah,
attacks. And everyone was like,
I've worked at places
"Wow,
that do that.
wow."
Nobody ever falls for it because like as soon as one person gets them, they just like forward it to literally everyone else who works there and is like, guys, don't click on this.
But this was like an email that basically came from an official GoDaddy source.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
apparently a lot of people clicked on it, and a lot of people were like, "Damn, really could have used that $500 now in the pandemic when I'm getting paid like peanuts to work from home."
yeah. I mean, I can imagine. I don't know. This isn't really based on anything, but I can imagine like GoDaddy is not like the most benevolent of companies.
Great. I love all the tweets that are like March 2020. If I just stay at home for a couple of weeks, everything will be okay. January 2021. The White House seems to be held by a shirtless man with a Viking helmet. Next week, Reddit's coordinated attack on Wall Street is going as planned. But anyway, Rex gets taken to the hospital, and this is how we find out that nobody can die because basically the doctors are like, "So, Rex, you should be like way dead right now."
Beyond
Like,
dead, advanced death.
they're like, "Rex, we have no medical explanation for how you survived." Like, straight up, dog.
You're on your own here. As all this is going down, we see what Gwen has been up to. She and Reese have moved to the literal middle of nowhere.
Where they threaten people who knock on their doors with guns.
Yeah, this is weird because Children of Earth, at the end of Children of Earth, you do see that scene that is a couple months later. I forget how many months it is. And it seems like Gwen and Reese are still just kind of living in Cardiff. It seems like things have died down. And then here we find out that, they're in danger. So they've fled to, this sort of beachfront, like, house.
I mean, beautiful house. Beautiful house. Nearest town or hospital is miles away. Miles away. Some people who are hiking on the beach knock on the door, and Gwen basically pulls a pistol and answers the door, and they're like, "Hey, can you give us directions back to town? We kind of got lost." And she's like, "This is a private property. Get off our land." You see Reese standing behind the door with a shotgun ready to, I guess, just blow their heads off.
Yeah. Yeah, so even the British characters getting in on the gun action. They also have a child now, which I guess we already knew, but
I was going to say, was that surprising?
no, it's just like, Gwen and Reese have this daughter. It was surprising, though, that, like, she, their daughter, whose name I don't think we learned, or if we did, I forgot it, goes through, like, explosions and chases and gun firefights and is just, like, doesn't cry or anything.
Well, also, like, Gwen is telling her stories of her time at Torchwood, and Reese is like, "You gotta stop that." And she's like, she doesn't know, the difference between fantasy and reality. She doesn't know.
Babies are stupid.
Yeah, screw babies.
They can't. Are they dumb? Like they can't even eat. How dumb can you be?
Can't even feed yourself. Like, come on.
Anyway, yeah, the hospitals are getting over, I guess crowded because people just aren't dying.
Yeah, we find this out through someone visits the hospital where Rex is.
Yeah, it
Was it
was
Esther?
Esther.
I don't think it
Yeah, it
was
was
it
Esther.
Esther.
And she talks to her. I guess this was like her friend or something who is a doctor there. They seem to have a close relationship, I guess. She talks to that doctor whose name I'm blanking on, who tells her that like people aren't dying and it's happening all over the world and such.
The doctor who might be a recurring character who we should probably
Yes.
know her name. Vera.
Yeah,
It's
Vera Juarez.
Yeah, so she reveals that nobody died. Nobody has died since Sunday. And then the news picks up on this somehow. And then Oswald picks up on this. And basically, the representative for the governor goes to talk with Oswald. And Oswald is like, I'm going to sue the pants off the governor if you don't let me go free. Because straight up, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Okay, he makes a more complex argument, legal argument, where he's like, my lawyers are going to argue that the execution went forward and that this was an act of God that saved me and that you can't keep me here because the sentence I was assigned to has been carried out.
Which is apparently what happens. Based on the trailer. And based on him getting...
Well, I think even in this
out.
episode, we find out he gets released. Cut to CIA archives, and our favorite CIA agent, Esther Drummond, is making waves in the archives and is
she's really channeling Tosh and, sort of just digging into these archives and trying to dig up as much about Torchwood as she can. And then she meets Jack.
Yeah, so this is pretty clever because every digital trace of Torchwood in the system has been erased, but she figures there has to be some sort of physical evidence, some sort of actual physical paper documents. So she goes to the archive and is like, look, I'd like to get in to see the archives because I want to look for paper.
Can I buy some paper here? Like...
Just repurposing like classified documents.
Just print on the other side,
Just use the back, man. Get a document that's like a plan to assassinate the prime minister or something. You're like, or like the president, like a plan to like you get documents implicating the CIA in Kennedy's assassination. They're like, I just ignore that, dog. Just print on the back. But yeah, she meets Jack. First she sees Jack. So I thought this was pretty cool because she sees Jack in the folder that she's holding, and then she looks up and he's standing there in the corridor and he's like, come with me. And she runs, obviously. I mean, a creepy man just confronting you like in the archives, like who wouldn't?
As all this is going down, Sergeant Andy has called Gwen on their, I guess he wasn't a sergeant before, right?
He was just a PC.
He's obviously, climbed up the ladder a little bit. Good for him.
Yeah. So I totally forgot to look up an Amazon X-Ray Fun Fact of the Week this week. But anyway, the Amazon X-Ray Fun Fact of the Week can be that, like, in season 1, the Amazon X-Ray Fun Fact of the Week spoiled that, like, PC Andy doesn't die because it's like, it said basically that besides the regulars, Eve Miles and John Barrowman, and the recurring character, Reese, played by Kai Owen, that PC Andy was the only other actor, like the actor who plays him, I'm completely forgetting who that is now.
Yeah, same.
Is the only actor to appear in all 4 seasons of Torchwood. Oh, Tom Price. And I was like, wow, thanks, Amazon, for just spoiling that he doesn't die ever
He could
on the
die. Like
show.
he's already appeared here, you know. So like nobody's
I
dying, but
guess, yeah. I mean, I guess it was just a spoiler that he didn't die in like
yeah.
season
So it's
2
like
or
nobody's
3.
dying, but you know, probably by the end of the season, people will start dying again, and then PC Andy could just get like shot out of
But
nowhere.
it also, but I mean, that also, like, unintentionally spoiled that like Owen, Tosh, and Ianto would die before season
Oh
4.
yeah, huh?
Yeah, best Amazon fun fact I ever read. It was great. Thank you.
Anyway, he's called Gwen and has covertly informed her that her father is in the hospital. Geraint, the best
Yeah.
Torchwood character. My,
Woo! I bet you never thought Geraint was coming back.
I thought we discussed that like Gwen's mom and dad do come back when we watched whatever that episode was called, where she and
No, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you're right.
yeah.
I think we did.
Oh yeah, and her mom's name Mary. That's yeah. Oh yeah, and I forgot about this. We also discussed like Mary Cooper has actually like a large role in the audios. Yeah, she has a. I just went on her TARDIS wiki page. She has a pretty extensive page.
Interesting.
So they go to Cardiff, I guess, to visit Gwen's dad in the hospital.
Yeah, and this is when you kind of wonder, like, do they like not even keep up with the news in their little cottage? Because Andy's like, if he had to pick a better day to like have 2 heart attacks, he couldn't have picked a better day, basically. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you don't know about Miracle Day? And she's like, what the hell is Miracle Day? And he's like, oh my god, Gwen, really?
Right. And so they start, they start channeling Ianto and Tosh, I guess, and start looking things up online on Wikipedia.
Yeah, with a fake logo, which I'm like, I guess the like Wikipedia Association didn't want them to use their
Or they just
logo.
didn't even try, Might as well just cover your
Also true.
bases there. But yeah, they look up Miracle Day and they look up various news articles and they calculate that like if this goes on for another couple months, society will just collapse because there will be too many people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. I'm glad they brought that up because it's something I didn't even think about. Because they're like, yeah, nobody's dying, but people are still being born. So the population now is like the rate of increase of the population just shot up like a lot.
Yeah, this whole season seems like it's going to tackle things from angles that I didn't even think of. Like that's one, and also the obviously hospitals getting flooded with people and not being able to operate, and the death row stuff, and it's just coming at it from a lot of interesting angles that I never thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Also with the Jack becoming mortal thing, because so a bomb goes off in the CIA archives. Jack and Esther escape, and Jack's kind of like, I'm scratched. And she's like, yeah, that's a miracle given everything else. And Jack says something like, yeah, not the miracle you think it is.
He tells her a bit about Torchwood, and then retcons her.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, so I gave a bunch of people retcon, and she doesn't respond. And he's like, what's retcon? And she's like, oh, what's retcon? He's like, it's a drug that erases your mind. And she goes, no, because she realizes she's drinking water.
Right. In this scene, you kind of get the impression, or at least I did, that Jack has, obviously been through, I guess, more than what he had, or maybe this is like, this moment is one where you like kind of think that, yeah, Jack really has been affected by some stuff that he's seen, because he just seems more, I don't know, grizzled and hardened than in previous seasons.
Grizzled.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
Sorry, it was just such an unexpected word choice. Just, I wasn't expecting you to use the word grizzled. No, I mean, I agree. You definitely get the sense that Jack's been through something since we last saw him, or maybe it's even still the after effects of the Children of Earth thing. I mean, the Children of Earth thing is actually referenced very sneakily throughout all of this by people referring to the 456 protocol.
Right in the 456 like level of clearance, which is obviously like at the top,
Mm-hmm.
or I assume it's at the top. It's what context, it kind of indicates about it. But this scene also gives us a little bit of Esther's character, where she tells Jack that she kind of feels responsible for what would have been Rex's death because she was talking to him on the phone while he was driving.
Right. And she is investigating Torchwood because it's what she was talking about when he crashed.
Mm-hmm.
Jack goes to the hospital that Rex is at this point because the body of the guy who blew himself up to try blow Jack up at the time is there, but also I suspect, although it's not stated, to retcon Rex as well. Since I think he's the only person left who actually knows about Torchwood, besides the random CIA lackey that Esther asked to find like a folder on Torchwood for her.
Jack is also, still his same old self, just using his acquaintances slash friends slash coworkers' names and appropriating them as his own because he's going by Owen Harper.
Owen's also dead, so it's more of a like in memoriam Owen Harper.
I guess. I mean, Jack Harkness was stolen from his dead lover as well. If you remember back to that
True.
episode, whose name I'm also forgetting.
True. Yes, but also there's, I think, if he uses the name of a dead person, he's less likely to get caught because people are like, well, they'll look up, they'll be like, who is this Owen Harper? And they're like, dead name, weird, must be someone we don't know. Then never look for him again, as if that ever works.
Anyway, this is the scene that we were referencing at the beginning, where they are, I guess, experimenting on this guy who really should be dead.
Well, they're not experimenting so much as like Vera's there to know what the heck's going on. And Jack just then goes, hey, can the head survive without the body? And Vera goes, what the hell, man? Like, what the hell? And Jack's like, I'm just curious. And that's when the doctor basically goes, you know what? Interesting theory. Let's find out.
Yeah, just... God.
I think Vera even says something like, we're like doctors and he's our patient. And the guy just goes, that's a nice theory.
How did this guy, just really revealing, I guess, the cracks and unethical, breaches of massive proportion, that are going on here. So, would hate to be this guy's patient. Because he snips off the few strands of flesh and cartilage.
Yeah, it's kind of really like gruesome too. You see it all happen. It's just, I was so glad I ate breakfast while I was watching this. I'm so glad I had finished eating by the time this came on screen because, ugh.
Yeah, he snips off the few strands and the guy's still alive. He's still looking around at everyone.
And so that's terrifying. That's horrifying.
Yeah, just
because that kind of confirms that this is not not an immortality like Jack, where Jack heals all the time. It's you just stay alive.
Right. Meanwhile, someone else who's alive is Geraint Cooper, because Gwen and Reese have made their way back to Cardiff and they're visiting him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Gwen's mom and dad see their granddaughter for I couldn't I guess it was the first time. I couldn't tell if they'd either not seen her before or they'd only seen her a couple times, something like that.
I think it's supposed to be implied it's the first time they'd seen them since they went into hiding,
Yeah.
basically. Because I think she says something like, "You said I'd never see you again. I said it was safer for you, Mary."
Mm.
We also get the like, I don't know if you caught this, but I definitely did, where Gwen just subtly implies that she had had major psychological problems growing up because of her mom.
Oh, what? I didn't get that.
Oh, did you? Because her mom is saying like, "Oh, the baby's looking fat. Like, what are you feeding her?" And Gwen's like, "Keep telling her that for the next 16 years, and she'll grow up with some psychological
Oh,
complexes."
yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't even put two and two together there. Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, yikes.
Well, Reese's dad was like the only cool parent from that episode where they got married, so
That's true. He was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm just glad they're getting married and they're happy. I'm just here to drink wine and watch the wedding go to
and watch the
hell."
world burn.
Yeah, basically.
Well, the more interesting part of this hospital visit is the argument that Gwen and Reese get into.
Right. Yeah, Reese is like heavily anti Torchwood now in this season. I don't know if this felt weird to you, but to me it felt not like a big switch in character, but just like his what's the word I'm looking for?
He's
Conviction in this belief seemed to be higher than it was before.
Yeah, it definitely did. It didn't really feel that weird to me because he always had that like within him kind of in previous seasons. It's just been ramped up, I guess. It didn't really feel out of place to me or anything. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, sure.
he did seem like, yeah, he did seem a little more testy about it. Maybe it's the cabin fever, he's been just in the middle of nowhere, I guess. So, and
Yeah.
I guess he was always implied to be sort of a volatile guy. I mean, what he had that nickname, Reese the something or the
Reese
other.
the rant
Yes, Reese the Rant.
that we never actually saw really on screen. And now, I mean, I guess maybe now it's like, ugh.
Well, he pisses off Gwen because she's fretting about it, and she's like, he didn't even want to come or anything like that. And I think I have that correct. And he says like, well, like, don't even worry because he's not going to die. Like, nobody's dying. And she gets mad about that.
They have an argument of whether Gwen should get involved or not, and Gwen actually basically cedes to Reese's request here to just go home and not get involved.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, it's a whole you and what army situation, right? Because before, Gwen had all the capabilities of Torchwood and her whole team like at her disposal and stuff, and it's like, now what can they possibly do? Like, they have guns. That's about it.
Well, you can do a lot with guns.
And not so much in the Doctor Who universe, just you can't just 5 rounds rapid your way out of every situation, as many episodes have shown us.
Tell that to the brig.
Yeah, I mean, the unit like failed so many times just because they were using traditional guns.
You're saying they should have used alien guns,
Yes.
right? I got you.
Yeah, which is why Torchwood was more well equipped. Maybe Unit just had like a big inferiority complex towards Torchwood, and that's why they carried out all those like human rights violations.
Completely forgot about those. Yeah, kind of seems. I mean, yeah, for all Torchwood's darkness, never really seemed like they touched on the human rights violations that Unit was just dropping left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Jack, like, yeah, Jack erases people's minds and then they forget about Torchwood once. Unit employs someone and then erases their mind every day. Throw back to the poor security guard guarding the like black archive who like every day was like, "Yep, first day on the job, can't wait to go home to my wife." And then Kate's like, "Yeah, he's been on the job for like 6 years now," and you're like, "Wow, wow."
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in the US of A,
The
Rex
glorious US of A.
Rex has decided to take matters into his own hands.
Right.
And he's in no condition to be up and about, but he just walks away from the hospital anyway, intensely as he can, on one crutch.
Yeah, the doctor's like, you're going to kill yourself. And he's like, that's the point. I can't. Goodbye.
He gets Esther to book him a flight to the UK.
He also asked for a requisition 15, which interesting, after the requisition 32 of last season, just, I guess Russell T really likes his requisition numbers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Torchwood made that up. I don't think, requisition 32 or whatever it is like a real thing. So.
Yeah. Weird that the CIA is
using the same terminology.
Using the same system.
He meets Jack on the plane, but we don't find that out until the end, basically.
Yeah, he's on the phone with Esther. Esther's giving him information.
Okay. Check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast on which we've watched The Prisoner.
Right. And which we will be watching The Prisoner again.
Yes, pretty soon. The 2009 miniseries.
Did that air on? No, that aired on AMC. I was like, did that air on Starz? No.
But yeah, someone tells him to put away the phone. The guy sitting next to him, which turns out to be Jack. He makes his way to England and then has to drive into Wales. He equates Wales to New Jersey.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment. I wonder how both people of Wales and New Jersey felt about that at the time.
Yeah, no idea.
And he basically goes to Gwen's house, pulls a gun on her, and is like, I'm Rex of the CIA, and then he collapses because he's been bleeding, basically continuously since he left the hospital. Because he ripped his stitches open when he left.
So Gwen and Reese tie him to a heater, and then they just bail, or they try to. He gets out though, because apparently Reese didn't tie him up properly.
Yeah, Reese tied a really bad knot.
He's giving them a whole lecture thing in the hallway. But as this is happening, similar to some of the sound choices that they made in Children of Earth, you hear this sort of helicopter getting louder and louder, and then you see behind Rex out the window of the house, and there's just a helicopter there.
You're like, well, shoot.
Reese says this really funny comment, and he's like, oh, it's a touristy thing. They do that. And I was like, what?
Yeah, because earlier in the episode, a helicopter flew over, and he said something like, oh, it must just be tourists.
Yeah, I guess this is a prime destination to fly your private helicopter around. Interesting, choice, I guess.
I think that was just them being in denial, honestly.
Maybe. Anyway, a guy mounts a rocket and shoots it through the window, blowing up a portion of the house.
Luckily for Reese and Gwen, they have a window exactly on the opposite end of that corridor that it just blasts out and hits the hillside behind instead of detonating inside the house where it could have caused some damage.
Doesn't it still take out portions of the house, or maybe not? I don't know.
Sure, yeah, but it doesn't detonate inside the house and kill Gwen and Reese instantly.
Anyway, what happens next is really a scene out of The Prisoner, because they all hop into this Jeep. Jack shows up, and they hop into this Jeep, and they're having this chase on the beachfront like they always did in The Prisoner.
Yeah, you're just waiting for Rover to show up and absorb all of them.
Yeah, and this sort of scenery, it looked a lot like Port Marion, just less, picturesque.
Wasn't Port Marion in Wales?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the real mind screw would have been if they had filmed this at Port Marion.
Well, Mask of Mandragora was filmed at Marion.
Yeah, but that was before we had the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, in our timeline, that it doesn't count because we didn't know at the time.
It didn't blow our minds like it could have.
Yeah. Yeah, what the hell were they thinking when they made that episode? Knowing that we would only watch it in like 2015.
Great.
I think, or maybe it was 2016. I honestly can't remember when we watched The Fourth Doctor. It was probably both 2015 and 16, considering how long the era was.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, yeah. I think we spent a solid a year in the Fourth Doctor's era.
Yeah. Fourth Doctor was what, like 70, I want to say like 4 to
78
81.
seasons, wasn't it? 74 to 81, wasn't it?
I know he left in 81. I don't remember when he started.
I think it was 74, because 73 would have been the Three Doctors, which was very close to the end of the Third Doctor's era. Because it was the 10-year special.
Yeah. Anyway, I forget how they even deal with this. I honestly don't even remember how they get
Jack
out of it.
just has like a rocket launcher in the back of the GP, I guess, requisitioned.
Oh yeah, they blow up the helicopter.
Kaboom.
Oh yeah, and it almost kills them in the process because it crashes and almost takes them out with it.
But it doesn't.
I guess they go back to Cardiff then. There's a lot of, I didn't realize, but there's a lot of going back and forth between Gwen and Lisa's place and Cardiff. Because they go to where Torchwood HQ used to be. Right on the bay.
Yeah, Gwen has a comment that's like, they rebuilt this place and we're rebuilding Torchwood. That's what's happening, right? She doesn't say this place. I don't remember what she says. But that's what's happening, right? And Reese is like, what did I say? He's talking to their daughter. He's like, what did I say? First sign of trouble. Torchwood comes back. She's going to run off with Captain Jack. What did I say?
But that doesn't happen because Rex has called in the police to take them to the U.S. and I guess get to the bottom of what's going on.
Yep.
That's how the episode ends, and we do get I think it was like 3 minutes. It's a trailer for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he says this isn't an arrest, it's a rendition. He's asking them, basically asking, in quotes, them to come to the U.S. and help him figure out what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they agree. They're like, all right, we don't really have a choice. You got guns on us. This is also Jack reveals to Gwen, like, I hurt myself. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, no, Gwen, I hurt myself. Look. And she's like, uh-oh.
Right. And this also kind of, I don't know if you had this same thought, or maybe you realized, earlier or not at all, but like, there's that scene earlier where Jack has that bruise. I think it was on his like stomach or something, but then Esther also has a bruise that doesn't heal. So it seems like it's not, it's not only, situations in which you would die that you don't heal. It's just any injury, I guess.
So something weird's going on, and that's the setup.
Yeah, a lot less compelling, I think, than Children of Earth. And I know we're going to inevitably compare these two seasons. Just because it seems like they were trying to recapture Children of Earth almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's an element of that. I did see some reviews that were like, this season would have probably been exceptional if it had been only 5 episodes like Children of Earth. And I've seen a lot of basically reviewers and commentators say that this season is very divisive because the plot at its core, I think most people think is interesting or cool, but it's so overwrought and drawn out to get into 10 episodes that it never really analyzes anything in an interesting way. Which I guess we'll have to see if that's the case or not. If that's going to turn out to be true.
I mean, it's true so far. Children of Earth is obviously, each episode was way more dense than most TV episodes of any show are, but this one is definitely not that, you know?
Yeah, it's not dense, but I do think that I think there's some interesting things that this season is going to deal with. Interesting to me, anyway. Like the murderer getting off the death penalty because he can't die, and like how he kind of becomes a celebrity. Could be interesting. The fact, like, what will you do if you can't die, but you still get hurt? Like, I think that could be really interesting. But I think the most interesting thing to me is like how they've basically, and I think there's a lot of potential in this, and that maybe they don't deliver on. I guess we'll see. In how they've basically inverted the entire premise of the show in this episode. You know, back when we started Torchwood, Jack couldn't die, but everybody else could. Jack had the whole Torchwood team behind him, and in this season they've inverted that completely. Jack is the only one who can die. Jack is in a world of people who can't die, with basically nobody except Gwen on his side at the moment. Presumably Rex and Esther joined the team in an unofficial capacity of some sort. What am I saying? And from that point of view, I'm interested to see what the season is going to do with Jack specifically, because that's what I'm most interested in this season, more so than anything else this episode has set up.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. There's also some stuff going on with Gwen too. You know, you can see that I guess she feels her life is like really empty without Torchwood, whereas I guess Reese doesn't think that. You know, they have this sort of, yeah, they're alone out there, but you know, they have their daughter finally, and you know, it's I don't know, it's almost sad in a way, I guess. So we'll see where they go with it, but it's like Gwen definitely like misses Torchwood, and she has this nightmare about Torchwood too in the beginning of the episode that we skipped. But I guess it's this thing that like she can't escape from, and that she, you know, maybe wants to go back to, but it also is kind of haunting her.
Yeah, but that scene was really interesting too, because the way they set it up is that comes right after Esther has learned about Torchwood, and you think it's almost setting up like the first 15 minutes of the episode were just like her dream, like her nightmare. And then you find out that no, actually, it was a completely unrelated nightmare.
Yeah, or I thought it was going to be some like psychic link between her and Rex or something, and she was like dreaming Rex's death or something like that. So, but I guess it wasn't. I'm also really surprised that Lois doesn't come back. I thought she was going to be a new Torchwood member, but I guess not.
I'm not super surprised by it, since she was never actually like a member of Torchwood. Also, there's clearly been the passage of time, or the passage of time between season 3 and season 4 of Torchwood.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, she was like 6 months pregnant at the end of Children of Earth, and now their daughter is 2. So it's been at least a year and a half, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, at least 2.5 years, if not more. Roughly.
Yeah, and I think it's implied that this takes place like in real time related to Children of Earth. Or actually, I think this takes place in March 2011. So yeah, this takes place in real time to when it's airing.
Yeah.
Roughly. Yeah, otherwise, I don't actually have much else to say about this. I guess we can do our regular segments still. But at the same time, I don't have much else to say with regards to what happened in this episode.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm just interested to see where it's all going to go. The trailer brought up a lot of different things. It brought up the whole mega pastor thing. There's going to be a cult. There's going to be a lot of weird stuff. So we'll see how it all comes together.
Yeah, the one thing I do think this season did more so than say Children of Earth or even series 2 or 1 was set up a lot more plot threads than the previous seasons. And I think actually going into this season, the reason why this is another serialized story is I think Russell T said explicitly like Torchwood probably won't go back to the Monster of the Week thing, just because at that point I think Russell T and he said this, that he thinks the serialized format is a lot more interesting and you can do a lot more with it than doing a monster a week thing, because you can explore concepts and themes a lot deeper than otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think both have worked for Torchwood. And it's like, Russell T at the time was doing basically the monster villain of the week episodic stuff on Doctor Who, so maybe just this was the other sort of outlet, I guess.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about how successfully Torchwood like transformed the entire premise of the show between season 2 and 3, and how that could have gone so badly and it didn't. Like, that's a huge risk to take in the world of television, to completely change the premise and structure of your show, and it worked out for Torchwood. I mean, it worked great for Torchwood. So it'll be interesting to see if they can recapture lightning in a bottle. We talked about this last week. So how much is this going to affect Jack? I think a lot. I think being mortal again is going to be it's going to be something that Jack's going to have to deal with. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, just, I guess, knowing what happens later is like, he's going to go back. He's going to regain his immortality, and then everyone else is going to regain their mortality when whatever this thing is dealt with and defeated.
But the question is, what's going to happen between now and then?
Yeah.
Because there's so much that could happen. There's so much.
Yeah, anything could happen.
True. Should have named this season Anything Can Happen.
Torchwood, we're making this up as we go along. That's what
a little bit.
Every single story is made up as it goes along. Like, it's still funny to say, but it's like, I don't see that as like a bad thing or anything.
Yeah, the question is, how much is it made up?
Yeah, that's true. Like, even when you plan out every single detail, it's still made up as you go. But yeah, I mean, what sins does Gwen commit this week? I mean, wrath. Obviously. Directed at people who don't deserve it, like those two randos who like just show up at their door.
And Reese. She directs some towards Reese.
Yeah.
She directs wrath towards a lot of people.
Yeah. Pride for like wanting to reclaim the gory days of Torchwood. No, the glory days.
I mean, that's true. I mean, it's true. The gory days.
Yeah. But no, she definitely, you can see that she kind of wants to reclaim the glory days of Torchwood. So, she's definitely prideful.
She wants to be back in the driver's seat. Put me in, coach. Yeah, I think those are the only sins she commits. Those are the only ones I have her committing anyway.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, pretty sure.
Britain's 10 actors. Who wants to go first, since we looked up the same people?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll just go first then, since I neglected to do this for many weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, just cashing in on my laziness here.
Nice.
Anyway, Alexa Havens plays Esther. She's had a pretty extensive career. She's been on a lot of American shows that, like, yeah, this season is also going to be interesting for us that, like, the actors in it are going to have on their resume, like, all the shows that American actors are always in and not the ones British actors are always in. So anyway, she's been in Brooklyn Rules. I don't know what that is. She's in that movie Hancock with Will Smith, I believe it was.
Yeah.
The one where, I think it's him as like an alcoholic superhero or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and he picks his name. He's also amnesiac, and he picks his name because when he is checking out of the hospital, this is like so dumb, and this is the only thing I remember from this movie. When he's checking out the hospital, the person at the desk is like, "Hey, can I get your John Hancock?" Because it's a slang for signature, and he's like, "Ah, yes, Hancock. That's my name."
From like 1835.
Like, that's my name.
Yeah.
Very Han Solo in Solo.
All right.
Have you seen Solo?
No,
Oh,
no.
Solo reveals that he got his name because he like was signing up to join the Imperial Army or Navy or whatever, and they were like, "What's your name?" Han, and they're like, "Oh, so of like what what family are you of?" And he's like, "I'm Solo," and he's like, "Ah, Han Solo, all right," and that's it. That's how he gets his name. Yeah, really needed that piece of Star Wars lore. Thanks, Disney.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Anyway, she's also been in Cold Case, CSI Miami, CSI New York, Grey's Anatomy, Children's Hospital, which is one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my life. And it's true. Children's Hospital is an amazing show. And she's been in Constantine.
Yep, yep. It's everything I got her in.
I recommend Children's Hospital to everyone listening to this. It's a great show. One of the only like traditional TV shows that I've ever found funny. Only the internet
Wow.
has made me laugh over the years, but Children's Hospital has really, evoked some laughter in me.
Children's Hospital really upped the game for you, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Well, next I have Mekhi, I want to say it is, Pfeiffer as
Mm-hmm.
Rex Matheson. He's been in a lot of uh, American TV shows as well. Chicago PD, Roots, Psych. ER is his most famous role. He was on ER for many years. TV show called Lie to Me, which I believe is a Canadian show. Curb Your Enthusiasm, he was in an episode of, and he was in the movie Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder remake that basically launched Zack Snyder's career.
He was also in that Spike Lee movie, Clockers.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then we've got our last actor for the week, Bill Pullman, aka Oswald Danes.
Yeah, he has probably the biggest acting career of any of the people we just mentioned. He's been in just a lot of really famous stuff. He's been in space. He was in Spaceballs, Sleepless in Seattle, and Independence Day, like all of them.
I think there are only 2 Independence Days as of yet.
Oh, really? I thought there was like 3.
A third one has been announced that they have not made yet.
Oh, maybe.
I think Independence Day is his most famous role, though, because he plays the president,
Yeah,
Thomas J. Whitmore.
yeah. Maybe he'll be in the third one too.
Great. Independence Day Resurgence was the biggest, like, I don't know why there's this weird fascination with making sequels or to like 80s, 90s movies at the moment, but Independence Day was the worst of all of those. I'm just going to say that right now. And it was even Independence Day, unlike a lot of the other ones, was even directed by the same guy who did the first one. Like he had all the cards, like, and it was just terrible.
I thought people also really hated. What was the new Cloverfield that came out like 2 or 3 years
like
ago? The Paradox,
like Cloverfield Paradox, yeah. I think.
Didn't people despise that one? But then there was like a certain vocal minority that was like, "No, this is actually amazing."
But also, that wasn't like a direct sequel. That's the Cloverfield universe is kind of weird. Maybe we should do it for Triple Play at some point, where like Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and the Cloverfield Paradox are all movies that are supposed to be dealing with the same things thematically, but are not directly sequels to each other or like in the same universe. Although I think Cloverfield Paradox, I haven't watched it, has scenes or plot elements that imply or outright state that the other 2 movies are like alternate timelines to the one that Cloverfield Paradox is in.
Yeah, that's what I heard when it was coming out. People were like, "There's a lot of like weird like little clues in this movie," and that's like what was most interesting about it, I think.
I've seen the first Cloverfield movie, and let me just tell you, it's like it's great. It's great.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's one of the few like found footage style movies that I think is just like really well done and is great.
Huh?
So It's basically like a Godzilla movie if Godzilla landed in New York and you only saw it from the perspective of like regular people who don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, anyway, I have one email from Steven to read this week. Steven. It's from Steven, sorry. The subject line, retcons. Hey guys, on the Day 4 episode, you seem to imply that Dylan was the sole creator of Trust Your Doctor, that he hired Keon to be the co-host. This goes against 7 years of Trust Your Doctor lore, which is that you two had known each other for a really long time since you were kids. This new implication flies in the face of everything that has been established. I worry that this retcon is only the beginning of more contradictions and continuity errors within the Decorative Vegetable franchise. Hopefully this podcast does not continue to disrespect the classic Trust Your Doctor fans. Cheers, Steven. Well, in true Doctor Who fashion, Trust Your Doctor is going on a 6-year hiatus now that we've dropped a random plot element. You know, I love the TV movie just randomly introducing the Doctor's half-human and then the show vanishing for 9 years, actually. We're going to vanish for 9 years and come back and like completely reinvent Trust Your Doctor. So I'll see you on the other side.
If you're listening to this in 2030 or later and you have access to the next episode, this is going to be really weird.
Yeah, we're going to take 9 years to make the next episode of Torchwood Miracle Day.
Imagine actually taking 9 years off and just watching episode 2 in 2030.
Jeez. Well, at least we have someone gatekeeping Trust Your Doctor lore now.
True. Thanks, Steven. Thanks for keeping us on the straight and narrow.
And that's all the emails I got this week.
Yeah, well, we had a couple comments here on Children of Earth Day 4 on Facebook, so you can read those out. They're not too long. So Boz commented, I think the council basically insists that Frobisher sacrifices his kids. I got the impression he has no choice. Yeah, I believe that was the case. Yeah. He's sort of
I think that was the case.
Set up as this scapegoat for convincing the public that the choice is like truly random when it actually wasn't.
Yeah, they set him up very early as the fall guy.
And then RG commented, yeah, this was very grim. And yeah, it's completely true. Yeah, it was totally grim.
Yeah, the ending is really dark, especially with him committing murder-suicide.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Which I believe that wasn't until Day 5? Yeah, that wasn't until Day 5. Yeah. And that's all we had for that episode.
Well, if anybody would like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decadavegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Miracle Day. You can find us on YouTube at Decadative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you get your podcasts at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're going to be watching Rendition. But until then, the end.